Thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Write Project podcast and radio program. This is a show about writing and modern Newfoundland author culture. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew, author of such novels as Touch Your Nose and Jacoby Street, and founder of Engine Books. Let's see what we have today.
Thank you for joining me for another very special episode of the Write Project podcast. Very special, not in our normal time slot, because this week is the Women's Work Festival. So we're going to be airing a bunch of wonderful episodes, and the first of which is with the always incomparable Andrea Dunne. She is on the board of the Women's Work Festival. You've also seen her work on Hudson and Rex, and as a part of the Women's Work Festival with the play Say Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the Write Project podcast, Andrea Dunne.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. Okay, I got to ask you a bunch of stuff about your play, but first of all, so crazy to have you on here, just like behind the scenes a little bit, because you were there at like the birth of my publishing company back when it was just like me with badly printed books and like with no editor and stuff like that. I remember you being like an early supporter / critic / giving good feedback. It was wonderful. Like I have your notes on a bad cover design I did burned into my skull. It's wonderful.
I hope they weren't harsh notes on a bad cover design, but
it was a bad cover design, so it didn't get used. And you were absolutely correct. They were deservedly harsh, and I loved it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, perfect. And your sister writes with us now, is Laura Dunne.
Yes, indeed, she is.
Yes, it does. And I have long been poking her with a stick because I need a third Dunne. I don't know if you've heard this, but we have Brad Dunne, who's not related to you, and Laura Dunne, and I need a third Dunne so that I can promote you across the province and send you out as like the most suspenseful author trio available. Dunne.
I can't believe we've missed this opportunity so far.
I know. But silliness aside, tell me about first of all, tell me about the Women's Work Festival.
Okay, so the Women's Work Festival is an annual festival promoting the work of women and marginalized genders in theater. So we're a festival of plays in progress. So what we do is we take submissions from playwrights who are still working on their play, and we give them a workshop with professional actors and with a dramaturg to a day worth of kind of listening to it and talking about it and figuring out where they want to go with it. And then we do a public presentation of all or part of the piece with those same actors and have like a Q&A so they can get some feedback and also put their work out there to the community at large. And we've had a lot of success from it. We've had, I think, almost half of the plays we've workshopped have ended up going on to some kind of professional production.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
We're about seeking equity on stage and in theater. So other equity seeking groups or other groups that are not being fully represented is what we want to bring to the stage.
Absolutely. Tell me about your play in progress, Say Yes, Andrea.
Okay, so my play, it's actually based on a short play that I co-wrote with Cole Hayley in 2018 for the St. John's Shorts Festival. So that play was called First Date, and it was about two young people who go on a date together and kind of their different perspectives on what happened during that date, that there was a sexual encounter that they both feel differently about. So the way that worked was, it was my concept, and Cole wrote a monologue from the male perspective, and I wrote one from the female perspective, and we cut them together. So Say Yes is, I wanted to go back to that idea because I felt like we took those characters up to the point of their date and maybe the day after, but I felt like there was further to go with it. So I went back and kind of dramatized it a little bit more. And I also took them further into dealing with the aftermath of what that event meant to both of them.
Yeah, that's a really interesting subject matter for a play. I'm gonna have to find a way to see that or read that or something at some point, because that's something, the multiple perspectives on the same event is something that I've long been very interested in. That idea that like two people can tell wildly different versions of the story and they both think they're right. Like not that they're both right, but that they both, neither is lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
they're both being honest.
Yeah. Like, and then you got to suss out what actually happened from that. And it's, yeah, that's amazing. That's got to be difficult to do, though. That's not an easy writing
process.
Process.
Tricky, which is why having this workshop with the Women's Work Festival, I hope, will help me figure it out a lot.
Yeah, and audiences, like in my experience, sometimes like have trouble with that kind of thing in a way that I think we need to address more. Like, this is going to be such a nerd reference, but I'm a giant nerd. Star Wars, the Last Jedi, my favorite Star Wars movie, had two versions of the Luke Kylo thing, like the flashback kind of thing, one from Kylo's perspective and one from Luke's I'm sorry, I'm such a dork. One from his perspective. And people have a trouble with that because they're like, they assume that one's true and one's not. I'm like, no, they're both different perspectives. Neither one of these is accurately to what happened. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a giant dork and we're having a serious conversation and I had to bring up Star Wars and I'm so sorry. Yeah. That's wonderful. So where can people see this work? This your play, Say Yes, when it's part of the Plays in Progress thing, but also the Women's Work Festival in general?
So the festival is Monday to Friday, the 7th of March to the 11th of March.
Okay.
And every night
this will invariably air like at some point during hopefully Monday, but we will see, kind of thing. So it's happening now.
Happening now.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you were saying. Yeah.
So every night this week, Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. is our public readings of the plays in progress. And you can see those streaming on the RCA Theater YouTube channel, which is RCAT at LSPU Hall.
Okay. I will definitely be checking that out. That's wonderful.
And it's totally free, but we encourage donations to some of our favorite women's charities. There's going to be a link. If you log on, you'll be directed to where you can do that. Nice. But yeah, they're open to the public and free of charge for all the readings. And we also have, if you visit our website at womensworkfestival.ca, we have a whole program of panels and workshops as well, and they're also all free of charge, but some of them you have to sign up for because they're on Zoom, so we need to be able to email you back the link. Sure.
Awesome. Okay, sounds beautiful and wonderful. I'm definitely going to be checking that out if I find myself with literally any free time next week. I'm going to rearrange my schedule to be able to tune in and see some of those plays, hopefully yours, because that sounds wonderful.
Awesome. I'm Monday, by the way.
You're Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
Monday 7. All right. I got this. I can do this. All right. Hopefully this episode airs before 7 p.m. on Monday. We shall see. Fingers crossed. Okay. I have some questions for you that are more biographical, Andrea Dunne, if that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea Dunne, where were you born?
I was born right here in St. John's.
And I assume spent most of your life here?
Most of my life. I did a year in Oakville at Sheridan College doing their advanced television and film program. But other than that, I've been here pretty much straight through.
Okay. And your parents, are they supportive of your art?
Yeah, absolutely. My sister's an author, as you know, so creative writing in the family, and they're perfectly supportive.
I do. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, you saw Engine in his infancy, and there's a very funny story that I tell people where or at least the way Laura Lana told it to me was funny, because she recounted telling you that she was being published and asked with who, and she said Engine, and according to her, you gave her this like look, and she was like, no, they're better now.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I was there right at the beginning when you guys were still figuring it out.
Oh yeah, no.
And then we lost touch for a while.
Well, we weren't really a publisher then. It was just me. Like I was very careful to never call ourselves a publisher until we'd gotten other talent, because when it's just you, you're a self-publisher. We always intended to grow, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely saw us in the building capital phase for sure. Andrea Dunne, what's an early experience you had where you learned that language or the plays or like that kind of communication that you work in, be it written or anything like that, had power? What's an early moment that like moved you when it comes to writing or television writing or seeing plays?
It's a good question.
It is.
I don't know. I think I was just always kind of interested in it. When I was like 8 or 9, I started trying to write a fantasy novel about dragons. I don't think you want what I came up with as an 8-year-old. But...
I don't think you're correct. I think you're wrong. I think you do. I think we do want that. But it sounds like you and your sister were both influenced by Anne McCaffrey, I believe.
Yes, I read a lot of Anne McCaffrey as a child, as did my sister. It was kind of our family series of books. I think there's like 30 of them or something. Yep. So that was our reading material for a few years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
What's an early experience that you had, like a big life experience before that, if you can remember? So before that, like moment like that, like when you're like starting to get into writing and like starting to realize like with those books, is there a big life experience before that, or is that some of your earliest memories?
I mean, well, my mother's a librarian, so she was always reading to us from before we were forming memories all the time. So I guess like books and the written word have always been pretty huge in my consciousness. And this is almost cliche, so I don't like to say it, but I remember as a child, the first book that like I really kind of took off the shelf and wouldn't stop reading was the first Harry Potter book.
That's funny. We sell a lot of your sister's books based on that. So when I'm at the table, I'll often say it's Harry Potter if it was from if it started a young female, was set in the past, and wasn't written by a demon.
Yeah. That's your comp book. That's
my pitch, and it works. Yeah. What's a big event that happened post this?
There's been a couple, I guess. One of them was when I was 18, kind of on a whim. I saw a poster for the Arts and Letters competition, and I entered the junior category, and I was one of the winners. And I wasn't expecting that because it wasn't something I'd really been pursuing up until that point. Besides that dragon book I started writing as an 8-year-old.
You have yet to submit, which just baffles my mind.
I know, it's insulting, right?
I know.
That really made me think that maybe that was something that I could do myself. And then another turning point I had later on was I watched a lot of TV, as many teenagers do. And at Chapters, I saw these like companion books I had to my favorite TV shows for like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly and Supernatural and stuff. And you could actually read the scripts and like read interviews with the writers and stuff. And it never really occurred to me that, there's people behind the scenes writing this and making it happen in, just putting words to a page like we do in other types of writing. And that was really kind of what made me want to pursue TV writing, which is still something I'm pursuing and not doing. But one of these days. Yeah, you said in the intro that people can see my work on Hudson Rex, and you can see the work that I have helped schedule and facilitate on Hudson Rex. Yeah,
you're in the credits. It's fine.
I'm in the credits. Yeah,
the whole thing would have fallen apart if you weren't there, Andrea. I am convinced. I
wrote a lot of daily schedules, and people followed them.
Yeah. Whole thing would. No one else could have done that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Wouldn't have happened without you. Would have just been like snow. Nobody knows what snow crash is anymore. That bothers me because nobody, like, if you leave the TV on, it never snow crashes. Like, there's always something on. Remember when I don't even remember. I don't know if you're young enough to remember this, but like, time was, if you tried to if you tried to watch TV and you couldn't sleep, eventually the TV would just give up and say go to bed, and there wouldn't be any more TV on. Which is bananagrams.
Crazy Captain Canada videos all night.
Yeah. That's how they'd end it and start it. They would start, NDV would start its day every day with Captain Canada welcoming the sun into Newfoundland. It was bizarre. Oh my. That's what you should do. We should do a revival of Captain Canada.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Gritty, realistic MCU style take on it. Yeah. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh, there's nothing more seminal to my existence than Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I loved it. Like in a lot of ways, and it was my introduction to horror, and it's a send up of horror. So it's weird. Like that show started because the writers were like, oh, we're sick of the blonde girl that gets dragged into the alley and killed by monsters in horror movies. So let's do that, except she kicks it kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, yay, fun. But that was my introduction to it. So to me, that's the norm. It's, you know what I mean? So I cannot watch older horror anymore, just because whenever that trope happens, I'm like, what? Why doesn't she just kick its butt? What's happening here?
Why doesn't she just kill the vampire?
Yeah. I get, if you want to see something very funny, I should do a reaction video of me watching The Grudge, the Sarah Michelle Gellar movie, because if I have a drink in me and try to watch that movie, I get very angry because I'm like, just kick its butt, Buffy. God, she's screaming as the Grudge monster comes down, and I'm like, just call Giles, get on it. Very frustrated. Anyway, sorry, weird tangent because you mentioned Buffy, and that was a very formative work for me.
Really?
Oh yeah. There's a reason that the main character in my book series is called Xander. Because I was unimaginative. I published my things that are unimaginative that I wrote when I was a child, unlike you, who had the good sense to not publish those things. Yeah. Andrea Dunne, if you were trapped on a desert island, and presumably a television could work there, which is a bit of a stretch, but what 3 movies or TV show seasons or books would you want with you?
Okay. Either of those 3 things?
Yeah, or one of each if you wanted.
One of each.
Way, however you want to do it.
I think for TV, it might be the Gilmore Girls, even though that's not one of the things I just mentioned being an influence on me, but it's very comforting and very rewatchable. It's not a mystery where you know the ending. It's just people living their lives.
Yep.
I think I would take that to my desert island. For a book, can I bring all of Anne McCaffrey and
sure.
Just regress into my 12-year-old self?
Yeah, we'll just put it all in one. We'll put a big hardcover thing around it like they used to do and call it one book. Sure.
Perfect. Love that. And I think if I could opt for another TV season instead of a film, I would do that. And perhaps it would be Buffy.
What's the best season of Buffy?
I really like season 2, even though I think they found their groove probably a little later than that, but there's just so much drama in season 2.
Yeah. I'm a big like season 5 and 7 person. I'm big at it. It's like, oh, it's all coming together moments kind of thing. They did some really clever like how we're gonna tie this all up in both parts of those. So yeah.
True.
It's really
yeah.
really impressive.
And some really great one-off episodes in season 5.
Yeah. Big time. I'm also, because of the age I was when I watched it, I'm just a big fan of Spike. Like that like I'm bad, but I'm tortured, and that's I went to Spike once for Halloween. It was bad. It was like
Did you bleach your hair?
Oh yeah, and it stayed that way for quite a while. And I shaved a chunk out of my eyebrow, and that stayed that way for quite a while. And the pictures are bad. Yeah, horrible stuff. Did you know? Weird tangent. Did you know they continued the series as comic books?
I think I heard that, and I don't think I ever read them.
I kept trying to, and because they got all the same writers from the TV show back, and I was like, oh, okay, kind of thing. I cannot get into it because I learned that part of what I like about Buffy is the acting and the music and the like everything. And the second you put just the writers in it, it's not the same. But yeah, they continued it on and did up to season, I think 15 as comic books, and then ended it before it got, so there's a different ending now where like Xander and Dawn get together and have a baby named like Joyce, and I'm like, what? Please stop. please no. Yeah,
sometimes they just have to make things more complicated if they keep going. I think
Andrea Dunne, what is an intimidating book that you would like to read? Something that's on your TBR list that you keep wanting to read and like, oh, I should read that, but something about it, man, it's just intimidating.
Good question. I think there's like a lot of classic novels I haven't gotten to because it almost feels like homework.
Yep.
Even though I know like there's a lot to be gotten out of them, maybe just the way we've been raised through the school system is like, oh, this is a book you would do a book report on. So things like wow, I'm blanking.
Sherlock Holmes, Huck Finn.
Yeah, Huck Finn is one of them. Or like Ulysses.
Oh yeah, I still haven't gotten around to that one too. That just seems like a beast of a thing.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. It also is very like a friend of mine who loves it was explaining it to me. He's like, no, it's the Odyssey, but it's done in real time, and it's a person drinking his way through like certain bars in Europe, and you can actually, and it takes place in real time, and you can actually like go on a pub crawl to like, and I would like, he went over and went on that pub crawl to like go track the tale of Ulysses through these pubs. I'm like, that sounds just horrible, man. That sounds like the worst. You're not selling the book. Like, this is not like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it sounds like it would be a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Andrea Dunne, what's your favorite place to read?
I think in bed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Are you prone to falling asleep with the book like near you and it flops to the side or whatever?
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't fall asleep quite that easily, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. That is sad, but yep. Andrea Dunne, what in your opinion is the best adaptation of a book? To movie or screen?
I believe the best adaptation of a book to screen is Fight Club.
I agree.
I watched Fight Club before reading the book, but I had read other Chuck Palahniuk novels. And just watching David Fincher's take on this book, like I felt the Chuck Palahniuk tone coming through. Like I felt very much that he had captured the spirit of this author.
Yeah, big time. I think Palahniuk's on record saying that like Fincher actually improved it, like added themes that like I've only had thought of that and stuff like that. It's a really I'm a huge Fincher fan. I like anything that he's touched. I'll just watch. I've even gone back and like watched all the music videos like that he did back in the early days. Like I teach him in my class when I'm doing it, stuff like that, just because he's a perfect storyteller when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, he's great. What's your class?
I teach writing, but I often use, because it's a lot of work to ask people to read novels that we can talk about, for example. So I have a list of movies that I pick every class. I'm like, please, before the start of class, watch these 3 movies so that we can talk about structure and like all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're talking about it with novels, but the structure of like how the story works is the same. It's just when it's a film, you execute it differently than a novel. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm big on structure, big on like to a point that it's a problem. Like I'm like, who cares what we're saying? The structure. Yeah. No, have you ever read the sequel to Fight Club?
I have not. I don't think I realized there was one.
Don't. Chuck Palahniuk did write it. It's a comic book or a graphic novel. It's very strange. You might like it, actually. It's very surreal. I thought I was going to love it. Like the first chapter, spoilers for this comic that came out 10 years ago. But the first chapter is the narrator, and he and Marla are living together and have a son, and their marriage has gotten boring, and he's medicated. So Marla, being the toxic person she is, starts switching out his pills for sugar pills so that she can be with Tyler Durden at night, kind of thing. Like switches out his medication because marriage has gotten too boring, and that leads to Tyler getting out again and causing all sorts of havoc. Good start, because they're both toxic characters. Interesting. It makes the mistake of telling you the narrator's name.
Oh.
Yeah, which is...
It's a name.
Which is Sebastian. And I'm like, nope. And it turns out that Tyler Durden's cult has grown without his influence, and is now like a worldwide... So it basically, by issue 3, or chapter 3, it becomes a worldwide terrorist plot thing. Like a James Bond riff, and Marla's the main character, and she doesn't know what to do. So when she doesn't know where the plot's supposed to go next, she goes to LA and visits Chuck Palahniuk's house, where he's having a real writing club called Write Club with his real author friends, and she'll go and ask him what the next plot point is because she can't seem to get there, and he'll write it on a post-it note and give it to her.
Okay. That is different.
It's so different. Yeah. It's a very surreal, weird book. Yeah. Andrea Dunne, thank you so much for taking the time, your busy schedule this week, to come on the Right Project podcast. It's been a pleasure having you, and it's always fun to see your career grow and see your work out there, and it's absolutely wonderful. Everyone, please check out the Women's Work Festival all week. We'll have a link in the description below on YouTube, and when we post this on CHMR, to their list of events. And please check out Say Yes at 7 p.m. on Monday.
Thanks so much for having me on, Matt. And I hope to see you or some of your listeners at our events this week.
I absolutely hope so too. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on again. For all of you, we'll be here again next week at 4:30 Newfoundland time, or online at chmr.ca. Please tune in, and we'll talk more about writing culture in Newfoundland.